Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a unique intellectual journey, really, trying to unlock an ancient secret. It's one that promises to transform how you understand strength and compassion.
That's right. We're diving into the profound concept of bodhicitta.
Exactly, Bodhicitta. Imagine a mind, if you can, that's so vast it encompasses all beings, so powerful it masters itself, and, while so profound, it can actually turn what we see as loss into glory.
It sounds almost mythical, doesn't it?
Mhm.
But it has very practical roots.
It does. And our mission here, as always, is to navigate this kind of complex wisdom, trying to cut through the noise and hopefully offer you a direct path to some deep, applicable insights.
And like you said, this isn't just abstract theory. We're plunging into this transformative idea, bodhicitta, and its incredible qualities. We're looking at it through the lens of ancient Buddhist wisdom, sure, but with a really keen eye on how it can redefine your view, the listener's view of true strength, self-reliance, and universal compassion in daily life.
Right. It's about taking these timeless teachings and figuring out their relevance for us, right here, right now.
How do we make sense of it today?
Precisely. Now, the material for this particular deep dive, it comes directly from a really significant source. It's a lecture titled The Qualities and Power of Bodhicitta.
And this was delivered by the esteemed Venerable Master Bennie.
That's the one. And the lecture was graciously provided by the Australian Buddhist Practice Incorporated. So our core mission today is really to unpack the layers of meaning within Venerable Master Bennie's teachings.
Trying to help you listening grasp not just what bodhicitta is, because the term itself can sound a bit daunting,
It can, yeah.
but also why it profoundly matters. And crucially, how its qualities can be understood, maybe even applied or cultivated within your own experience.
Yeah, how does it actually work? What does it feel like?
Exactly. And we'll be, reviewing the core sutra text that Master Bennie addressed in the lecture, emphasizing his main points along the way.
And then we'll wrap up with a reflection on how these insights might shift our fundamental perceptions.
Hopefully providing some real food for thought.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's unpack this. We're going to start with the first profound analogy that Venerable Master Bennie talked about. It's drawn directly from a key passage in the sutra. He quoted, Tam Bodhi vinyu kwanshat vit choi hun tat kangui ni tu, tam Bodhi vinyu divung, dit dai trong tat kak gwin.
Which translates roughly to, Bodhicitta is like a monarch, excelling all two-vehicle practitioners. Bodhicitta is like an emperor, free in all vows.
Now, what's immediately interesting here, and this came up in the lecture Q&A, is how the listener honed in on this apparent distinction. Monarch versus emperor, are they different?
Yeah. Do they represent distinct qualities, or is it essentially the same idea expressed twice? It's a good question.
It is. And Venerable Master Bennie's response was quite direct, actually. He clarified that in this specific context, the terms monarch and emperor are, well, essentially similar.
Right. The sutra uses both, maybe to emphasize a singular overarching meaning, kind of drawing on different facets of royal power to illustrate just how multifaceted and authoritative bodhicitta is.
It feels like a powerful linguistic choice, trying to convey something really immense, all-encompassing.
Definitely. So let's maybe dig into the monarch aspect first.
Okay.
Master Bennie explained that developing bodhicitta, this is what firmly places you within the Mahayana tradition. And that's a crucial distinction in Buddhism.
Mahayana versus the other vehicles.
Exactly. The Mahayana path is often described as superior or excelling the two-vehicle practitioners, which is often a reference to what's sometimes called Hinayana. Now, it's important to understand this isn't about judging one path as morally better or something.
Not a competition.
No, not at all. It's more about the scope of aspiration and practice. Hinayana, or the small vehicle, tends to focus primarily on an individual's own liberation from suffering, achieving personal enlightenment, or nirvana, which is incredibly noble, of course. But it often doesn't include that explicit vow to, save all sentient beings without exception.
Okay, so the monarch quality isn't about some kind of personal spiritual ego like I'm the king. It's about the scope being elevated.
You got it.
Yeah.
Mahayana, the great vehicle, is really defined by developing this bodhicitta, this profound wish, this aspiration to achieve complete enlightenment, not just for yourself, but for the benefit of all sentient beings. Every single one.
That's huge.
It is. And this aspiration is coupled with keeping bodhisattva precepts. These are ethical guidelines specifically designed to help cultivate that universal compassion and put it into action. So when you generate Bodhicitta, you're committing to this path of universal compassion, boundless activity, which naturally surpasses a path focused only on getting yourself out.
Right.
So the monarch analogy, it highlights that supreme elevated position of the bodhicitta mind within the spiritual landscape. It signifies its leadership, its comprehensive reach in pursuing liberation for everyone. It's like being a spiritual sovereign, but not for personal power, for the welfare of the whole kingdom of beings.
That makes perfect sense. It's leading the way, guiding everyone along. Okay, so let's move to the emperor aspect then. The listener in the lecture asked something like, does the emperor analogy mean that someone with bodhicitta can be self-reliant and free in all things, just like an emperor manages people and assets?
And Master Bennie gave a very clear yes to that. He elaborated a bit, explaining that just as an emperor, with ultimate authority, manages all people, assets, material things within their realm, achieving this state of profound freedom and self-reliance, so too does the mind of Bodhicitta.
So it implies a kind of mastery.
A comprehensive mastery, yes. But crucially, it's not mastery over external things or other people. It's mastery over your internal state, your karmic tendencies, your capacity to act freely and skillfully for the good without being hindered by defilements or external conditions.
So freedom from delusion and attachment.
Exactly. Which then leads to actions that are always aligned with compassion and wisdom. It's not freedom to just do whatever you feel like. It's freedom from the stuff that usually trips us up.
Wow, that sounds incredible, achieving that kind of self-reliance, that freedom. But it immediately makes you wonder, right? Is this state, this freedom, something that happens the moment you develop bodhicitta?
Yeah.
Or is it like an eventual outcome, something you have to work towards?
Very natural question. And this is where Master Bennie brought in that really insightful, very practical analogy. It grounded the whole concept beautifully. He asked the audience, essentially, when you sow seeds, do you immediately get fruit to eat?
Right, obviously not.
Exactly. And then he clarified, developing bodhicitta is like merely having the desire to eat something and then thinking about sowing the seeds for it. It's that initial aspiration, that profound wish to cultivate something boundless. But it is not the immediate fruit of complete freedom and mastery.
Okay, that distinction is critical.
Absolutely critical. It clarifies that the intention, the aspiration to develop bodhicitta, which is incredibly powerful, the first and most crucial step, make no mistake, is still just that, a beginning.
The starting gun.
Yeah, it's the moment you consciously decide, okay, I'm going to cultivate this path within myself. But the true self-reliance, the complete freedom implied by that emperor analogy, that's the result of consistent, diligent action, cultivation, practice over time. It's the fruit that ripens after the seeds of aspiration have been sown, nurtured, and brought to fruition through dedicated effort.
Okay, so that leads perfectly to the next question the listener asked. What's the next step then after developing bodhicitta? Is it the sowing the seeds part? The 10 dedications? And Master Bennie just said yes. Simple as that.
But then the listener brought up a really interesting point, something that often trips people up logically. They asked basically, why is it only at the first stage, the soda, the first of the 10 bodhisattva grounds, that you're said to be sowing seeds? Shouldn't the 10 virtuous deeds, which seem more foundational, come first? Like preparing the land before you plant seeds.
Yeah, that makes intuitive sense. Prepare the ground first.
It does. We tend to think very linearly, step by step. Perfect the foundation, then start the main work. But Master Bennie's clarification here subtly flips that perspective. He said something like, you must prepare the seeds first, and then prepare the land.
Prepare the seeds first. That sounds backward, doesn't it? How do you prepare a seed before the ground?
Well, his point seems to be that the intention, the bodhicitta itself, the seed you intend to plant and the method you're going to use to cultivate it, need to be firmly established in your mind before you can even effectively optimize the land, your internal environment, for its growth.
Ah, okay. So the seed isn't just the potential, it's the active intention and the plan.
Exactly. And the 10 virtuous deeds, not killing, stealing, engaging in sexual misconduct, lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, idle chatter, coveting, ill will, holding wrong views, these aren't just secondary actions you do later. They're the essential conditions for bodhicitta to even take root, to be maintained, and to flourish.
So without those, the seed just won't grow.
Pretty much. If your actions and intentions are constantly running counter to these fundamental ethical principles, then any aspiration for bodhicitta, no matter how sincere it feels in the moment, simply can't be sustained. It needs fertile ground.
So it's not just about having the seed, but making sure the soil is right, the conditions are right for it to actually become something real.
Precisely. Think of it like having the most amazing potent seeds, but you try to plant them in solid rock, or maybe in soil that's just choked with weeds already. It won't work. The seeds here are your profound intention and the methods you commit to. The virtuous deeds are the ongoing daily cultivation that makes the land of your mind fertile, capable of supporting that profound aspiration.
So they're inseparable, really.
Absolutely. Without these foundational practices, bodhicitta just can't be upheld. It's the very ground it stands on. It becomes this dynamic, reciprocal relationship. Bodhicitta inspires you to act virtuously, and those virtuous actions then nourish and expand your bodhicitta. It feeds itself.
That's a really fascinating insight. It's not just about wishing for something great, but actively, constantly creating the conditions for that greatness to emerge and thrive.
Okay, let's shift gears now to another really profound analogy from the sutra. It continues. Tambode vinu daihai, tet kung duk doche vaudo.
Which translates to, Bodhicitta is like a great ocean, all merits flow into it.
Now that is a beautiful image, so evocative.
It really is. And the listener in the lecture immediately grasped that vividness. They asked something like, so Bodhicitta is like a huge ocean, and all the merits are like little rivers flowing into my ocean, so I'm never lacking water. It's a very personal, almost possessive take, which is natural.
Yeah, we think accumulation for me, it sounds like this incredible, limitless source of benefit just pouring into you. But it does raise a key question. How do these merits actually flow into the mind of Bodhicitta? Does it mean, as the listener wondered, that you can somehow just learn everything automatically once you have Bodhicitta, like a knowledge download, right? Is it passive? And Master Bennie's explanation here was very clear, very practical. He really emphasized the active role of the practitioner. He affirmed, yes, ultimately all benefits, all merits, they do accrue to the practitioner, but the critical factor he highlighted is your willingness to open one's heart and actively embrace these merits.
So it's not just sitting back and letting the rivers flow in.
No, not like waiting for rain to fill a bucket. It requires an active receptivity, a conscious effort to integrate and embody these qualities. He gave us a specific example, the merit of compassion.
Okay.
If you genuinely practice compassion with an open heart, an active desire to actually alleviate suffering, then the excellent merits that come from that compassionate action will naturally flow into and enrich your bodhicitta.
So it's not just receiving, it's actively generating the qualities that then attract and integrate more merit. It's like practice begets benefit, which fuels more practice.
Exactly. It's that reciprocal nature again. The more you cultivate a quality like compassion genuinely, the more its merits deepen and strengthen your bodhicitta. It creates this powerful, positive feedback loop. The initial aspiration for bodhicitta motivates the virtuous action, and the virtuous action nourishes and expands the very bodhicitta it came from. It's incredibly dynamic.
Think about it more broadly, maybe with generosity.
Okay.
If your act of giving is truly rooted in bodhicitta, meaning you give with the genuine wish for all beings to benefit, to be free from suffering, then the merit from that act isn't just, a temporary good deed point. It becomes like a permanent deposit.
Flowing into that vast ocean.
Exactly. Strengthening it, expanding its capacity. And the same logic applies to patience, effort, meditation, wisdom, all the 6 perfections, the paramitas.
Right. When they're practiced with that bodhicitta motivation, they directly feed back into expanding and deepening the bodhicitta itself. Your mind becomes this vast container, but one that's actively fed, continuously expanded by your compassionate actions, your open heart, your unwavering commitment.
So the more you truly live the principles of Bodhicitta, the more all kinds of merit just naturally find their home and get amplified within that boundless heart-mind.
A really different way of thinking about merit and spiritual growth.
It really is. It challenges our usual ideas of gain and loss, how merit works, what real spiritual wealth even looks like. Okay, this is fascinating. Let's move to the final set of analogies from the sutra. These deal with the idea of unwavering support. The text says, Tam bodhe vi nu tu thi, bingdang vitam kutat chung sing, tam bodhe vi nu nutit vi baubat vanangda tatakatejen.
Which translates as, Bodhicitta is like Mount Meru, equal to the minds of all sentient beings. Bodhicitta is like Iron Ring Mountain, encompassing and supporting all worlds.
Okay, let's take Iron Ring Mountain first. What's that about?
So Master Bennie explained that in traditional Buddhist cosmology, the Iron Ring Mountain, or Cakravala Parvata, is seen as the foundational basis, the outer boundary, of every small world system. It naturally encompasses and supports all the realms within it, providing a kind of protective container.
Like the outer wall of a world.
Kind of, yeah. So in the context of bodhicitta, this analogy highlights its all-encompassing protective and supportive nature. Just like that mountain provides structure and support, preventing collapse, containing everything, Bodhicitta provides this unwavering foundation of support and protection for all beings.
A sense of holding everything, everywhere.
Exactly, ensuring stability, safety for everyone within its compassionate embrace. It's the unshakable inner resolve that supports and protects not just yourself on the path, but creates this field of protection for others too.
Okay. And then Mount Sumeru. The listener asked, what is Mount Sumeru and what does it mean to be equal to the minds of all sentient beings? Because that sounds huge. Impossible almost. How can one mind be equal to all minds?
It is a profound statement, isn't it? It points towards the ultimate nature of an enlightened mind. Master Bennie clarified that this equality, in this context, means bodhicitta equally accepts all beings.
Accepts.
Yeah. Whether they are, say, celestial beings in higher realms, or ordinary humans struggling like us, or even beings in animal realms or lower realms of suffering. Bodhicitta accepts them all without rejection, without preference, without discrimination. It's an unconditional embrace of all existence.
It's not about being identical, but about equal acceptance and embrace.
Exactly. Then the listener asked if Mount Sumeru was that tiered place we often hear about, with gods on top and humans below.
Right, the cosmology diagrams.
Yeah. Master Bennie quickly corrected that common image. He emphasized that Mount Sumeru is meant to represent something immense, almost unimaginable in scale. He used Earth as an analogy. Look at Earth, he said. Does it not support all sentient beings?
Good point.
He used Earth as this relatable example of universal, unbiased support. Mount Sumeru symbolizes an immovable, immense foundation. And he explicitly connected this profound equality and boundless support to the kind of compassion embodied by Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva.
The one who vowed not to become a Buddha until the hells are empty.
That's him. It highlights Bodhicitta's limitless, unbiased capacity to uphold and support all beings, no matter their current state or perceived worth, just like a vast mountain or the earth itself supports everything on it without judgment.
Okay, now, this is where it gets really practical and maybe uncomfortable for us everyday folks trying to be more compassionate. The listener then shared a really candid personal struggle, which I think resonates with so many of us.
I was very honest.
Yeah, they said something like, my level is, well, I want to live on the surface of the earth. That's just how I am. I always want others to support me. If I have to support others, honestly, I feel tired and annoyed. If others go along with me, okay, maybe I'll support them. But if they don't cooperate, why would I bother? It's just annoying. And then they asked, really directly, I try to be compassionate, but what if they're arrogant? What if they even bite me, metaphorically speaking? Do I still have to support them?
And that just perfectly captures that core human difficulty, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Extending unconditional compassion when it feels like we're losing something or being taken advantage of or just not getting anything back.
Totally. So how did Master Bennie respond to that really raw human question?
Well, he addressed it head on.
Yeah.
To the listener's heartfelt, why support them then? He simply replied, because of compassion. Full stop.
Just because.
Just because. And then he presented this truly radical, almost counterintuitive perspective that completely flips our ordinary understanding on its head. He said something to the effect of course, the more compassionate you are, the more arrogant they might seem, the more they might bite you because, well, they are easy to bite.
Whoa, wait,
Yeah.
because they are easy to bite. What does that mean?
It's a startling phrase, isn't it? It's not an endorsement of their arrogance. It's a profound observation about the nature of unconditionality. It highlights how uncompromising bodhisattva compassion is. It endures hostility, even harm, without wavering. A bodhisattva's compassion is so vast, so boundless, that it extends even to those who seem to exploit or abuse it. Why? Because they are the ones most deeply caught in suffering, most in need of its transforming power. Their biting is a symptom of their own pain and ignorance.
That's a huge paradox for our normal way of thinking. We expect compassion to be met with, gratitude or at least cooperation, not more arrogance or aggression. He even pushed it further, didn't he? Saying, bodhisattvas, stay compassionate even if someone wants to take their life. How is that even possible? How can someone willingly endure that?
Exactly, and this is the crucial aha moment. This is where the bodhisattva's view completely diverges from the ordinary person's. Master Bennie explained that for bodhisattvas, these acts being bitten, being harmed, enduring hostility, even having your life threatened, they aren't seen as wrong or a loss. They are seen as glorious.
Glorious. How on earth can being bitten or harmed be glorious? That's what the listener, and probably everyone listening now, wants to know.
It's glorious, Master Bennie explained, because, and this is a rough translation of his point, because by doing this enduring, you can actually bring merit and benefit to them, the aggressor, that is glory.
Benefit to the aggressor.
Yes, he clarified further, playing a bit with listeners' perspective of loss. Yes, because they overcome endurance by acting out their aggression, so they gain a lot karmically, perhaps. Well, you lose a lot. Do you think you're happy? He was being a bit provocative there. But then he stated the fundamental difference very clearly. You and a bodhisattva are different in that you think losing is bad. You define it that way. But a bodhisattva does not consider it a loss. They consider it that they gain.
Okay, hold on. So it's a complete redefinition of gain and loss. For the bodhisattva, the person biting gets a karmic opportunity to act out their pride, maybe setting the stage for future learning, while the bodhisattva gains profound merit by practicing perfect endurance, the paramita of Shantina, right? The perfection of patience.
Exactly. So the perceived loss from our ordinary viewpoint is actually a profound, multifaceted gain from the bodhisattva's enlightened perspective. It's not about being a doormat or martyr. It's about strategic, enlightened action rooted in wisdom and boundless compassion.
Which leads right into Master Bennie's core teaching here about wrong definitions, wrong labeling.
Precisely. He said that without wisdom, the kind of bodhisattva cultivates, we operate with. Well, he used the word stupidity. And this leads us to mislabel everything. We see genuinely good things as bad luck and bad things as good. He even joked that someone deeply deluded might see death as good.
Wow.
The fundamental problem, he asserted, is these wrong definitions and wrong labels that we apply based on our personal will, our ego, our conditioned views, instead of seeing the true nature of reality.
And this resonates so deeply, doesn't it, with all the common societal labels and the ingrained conditioning we all carry around.
Absolutely. The listener immediately jumped in with vivid examples of these conditioned views that plague us. They said something like, the labels we put are, doing a lot is a disadvantage. Serving others a lot is a disadvantage. Being bullied and not fighting back is a disadvantage. Being bitten and not fighting back is a disadvantage. These are all our views, right?
Yeah.
Conditioned by upbringing, society, what we're told is smart or strong.
And they use those brilliant analogies from Chinese martial arts novels, which so many people know, to illustrate how deeply ingrained these views are.
Yeah, that was great. They asked if we're like Duan Yu from demigods and semi-devils. You know, one girl slaps him once, another slacks him twice. He doesn't say a word. He's still happy. Are we considered foolish? Is that just our conditioning, our wrong labels?
And then Shuzu. What about Shuzu from the same novel? The guy who never tells a single lie, even when it causes him massive problems. Is he foolish too? Is that just us labeling it wrong? Are we completely reversing what's actually wise?
Such perfect examples. And Master Bennie's rebuttal was so powerful, so liberating, really. He affirmed, yes, these are wrong labels, completely reversed from the perspective of wisdom. And then he countered with his own profound reframing. He said, essentially, you see the foolish person. The foolish person has the fortune of a foolish person, while the smart person, they only have calamity.
Whoa.
Foolishness, he said, is not called foolish, but is called fortune.
That's radical. What we label foolish, enduring slaps, never lying, might actually be the source of real well-being, real freedom, good outcomes. While what we label smart or calculating so often just leads to suffering.
He didn't stop there either. To really drive it home, he brought in more examples from classic literature, painting this stark contrast. He mentioned Muran Fu, another character from Demigods, super intelligent, meticulously calculated everything for his own success, looked like he should succeed.
But was perpetually miserable.
Exactly. Always miserable. And the listener chimed in, oh, he was conditioned by his mother.
Right, trying to find an external cause.
And Master Bennie playfully shot back, conditioned by you, implying subtly that it's our own deeply held, unexamined, conditioned views that are the real root of our mislabeling and suffering, not just outside influences. It's a call to look inward.
Ouch. But fair point. Then he brought up Madame Ma and Wang Shifeng.
Yeah, two iconic female characters from different classics, both known for incredible cunning, manipulation, self-serving calculations. They were smart in the worldly sense.
Definitely knew how to play the game.
Right?
Yeah.
But despite their intelligence in navigating complex situations and getting short-term wins, what happened to them? Both met miserable, tragic ends. The common thread Master Bennie was pointing to is that those who are constantly calculating, manipulating, operating from self-interest, they often end up suffering immensely. despite their apparent smartness.
A stark contrast to the supposedly foolish ones acting with purity, honesty, simple compassion. Their internal labels about success and gain were just fundamentally flawed.
And he gave one more really striking example. Well, why?
From the Judge Bao stories.
That's the one. A character known for immense cleverness, cunning strategy. He even outsmarted the famous Judge Bao in certain aspects of calculation. But his ultimate outcome? Failure, disgrace, misery.
And the listener started pondering Guoai's mixed karma, right? He was loyal to his cause, but fundamentally evil in his methods. What happens to someone like that in the afterlife? It's complex.
It is. And this led to a truly powerful, quite sobering point about the whole cycle of wrong views and karma. Master Bennie explained that if your root, your fundamental views, your trichine, your core understanding of reality, if that's broken, then even cultivating something like loyalty or other seemingly good qualities can be incredibly dangerous.
How so? Isn't loyalty generally good?
He said something like, at this time, the higher you are in status or influence, perhaps, the more miserable you will be. He elaborated that a person with fundamentally wrong views, even if they are loyal, can inadvertently lead themselves and others into greater misery. Why? Because their actions, no matter how outwardly good they might seem, are rooted in a distorted understanding of reality.
So their compass is broken.
Exactly. Think about it. If such a person were reborn, Master Bennie suggested, they might attract loyal followers because of their apparent good qualities. But then, because their root view is flawed, they might proceed to lead those loyal followers into doing bad things, causing immense harm, leading to an even more tragic collective downfall.
Wow. That really highlights that genuine positive transformation isn't just about surface actions or trying to be good. It requires a profound, fundamental shift in your core understanding, your core labels.
It's about seeing the world through the lens of wisdom, not just conditioned habit or self-serving calculation. The root determines the fruit, no matter how nicely you prune the branches. If the root is poisoned, the whole tree is ultimately dangerous.
Okay, so it's not just what you do, but the underlying framework, how you see the world, your definitions of right, wrong, gain, loss. If those are flawed, even seemingly good actions can get twisted and cause harm to yourself and others. This really hammers home that transformation needs a complete recalibration of our core understanding, our labels.
It does. It's about seeing things through wisdom, not the distorting filter of our conditioned ignorance or stupidity, as Master Bennie put it.
If your fundamental understanding, your deep-seated definitions are skewed, then even your best efforts to be good or loyal might inadvertently lead to more suffering.
Which is why cultivating something like Bodhicitta is so profound. It aims to cleanse those very roots, to change that fundamental view. It's about reevaluating our internal compass, our entire internal labeling system.
Okay, so bringing this all together now, we've journeyed through these incredible analogies. Bodhicitta as the sovereign monarch and emperor, the vast ocean collecting all merits, the unwavering support of Mount Sumeru and Iron Ring Mountain. What are the overarching transformative effects of developing Bodhicitta? Right at the end of the lecture, a listener asked the ultimate question, didn't they? Something like, Bodhicitta has all these amazing qualities. Does that mean if we develop it, we will have all these merits, powers, protections?
Yes, the payoff question. And Master Bennie's answer was beautifully clear, concise, and really impactful. He simply said, you will have these effects.
Not just, you might get merits, but you will have these effects.
Exactly. It's not just about accumulating merit in some transactional way like collecting points on a loyalty card. It's portrayed as a fundamental shift in your very being, your way of interacting with the world. Developing Bodhicitta brings about these profound results or effects.
The sovereignty over your own mind.
The all-encompassing nature that attracts and integrates merits.
The unwavering equality towards all beings.
And that compassionate support that endures challenges. It truly transforms your existence, not just superficially, but right at the core of your perception and experience.
And that's where the real-world application comes in for you listening right now. It's understanding that cultivating Bodhicitta isn't some abstract spiritual concept floating in the clouds. It's a practical, actionable path that fundamentally changes how you perceive and interact with reality, leading directly to these profound effects.
It's about unlocking your own potential for that boundless compassion, that unwavering strength, that true wisdom.
It's about living a life where potentially what you used to see as loss can genuinely become glorious.
It means those qualities we talked about, the freedom of the emperor over the inner world, the vastness of the ocean where all good flows, the unshakable support of the mountain embracing everything. These become the very fabric of your being,
They're the inevitable fruits.
the inevitable fruits of a mind truly dedicated to the welfare and liberation of all. It really is presented as the path to profound and lasting well-being.
What an incredible journey we've taken, really, through these multifaceted qualities of Bodhicitta, exploring its power, its inclusivity, its enduring nature, even when faced with what our ordinary minds just see as adversity, all illuminated by these unique insights from Venerable Master Bennie's lecture.
We truly have. And those points about wrong definitions and wrong labeling, they should give all of us pause, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
It really invites you, the listener, to consider how these insights apply to your own perceptions, your own interactions.
Yeah, urging us to take a deeper look at the true nature of what we habitually call gain and loss, wisdom and ignorance.
It cuts deep.
It does.
Yeah.
And that leads us perfectly to our provocative thought for you to carry forward from this deep dive. If the very labels we apply to our experience fundamentally determine our suffering or our liberation, what are the labels you are currently carrying, consciously or maybe unconsciously? And how might changing those labels fundamentally shift your reality, your well-being, and your path forward?
That's a profound question to sit with, a real call to inner revolution, perhaps.
Absolutely. Now, before we finish, we want to express our profound gratitude, first and foremost, to the Australian Buddhist practice incorporated for providing this invaluable lecture resource.
Absolutely. And to Venerable Master Bennie for his profound wisdom and his incredibly clear teachings, which really do cut through delusion with such precision.
Hear, hear. And also to Venerable Chunno for their continuous guidance and unwavering support in helping bring these essential teachings to light.
Their contribution is deeply appreciated.
And of course, we need to thank the specialists who helped make this deep dive possible, assisting us in distilling these complex ideas into hopefully something clear and engaging.
And most importantly, thank you to you, our esteemed listener, for joining us on this exploration today.
We sincerely hope this deep dive into Bodhicitta has illuminated some new pathways for understanding, for compassion, and maybe for true freedom in your life. Until next time, keep diving deep.